This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome, everybody. So, JD Vance, our quite young vice president, only 41 years old. When you have a beard, you tend to look a little older, I think. But just amazing that this guy has a runway, if we're using modern precedent of Biden than Trump, of 40 years. Can still be president. Let's see, what year? In 2066. Think about that. At 80, who knows what JD Vance will be doing? But he's on a book tour now. And look, the guy has balls. There's no other way to put it. The big brass kind. Because most conservatives will avoid going on a place like The View because it's not an honest conversation. They're all there for the soundbite. It's kind of like those hearings that we see on Capitol Hill where Democrats will read off of notes and use all their time to lecture the person that they're supposed to be questioning on the Republican side instead of actually trying to get to the truth, actually asking questions and listening to the answers and maybe coming to some sort of compromise or middle ground. No. It's the same thing with The View. If you watch these clips that I'm about to play, all of them are reading from note cards that their producers, ever since they announced that JD would be on the show last Thursday, the Oppo research, so to speak, has been in full gear at ABC News. And again, this is an ABC News program. And it didn't go well for the ladies. And I put that in scare quotes because ladies implies class, and certainly very little of it exists there. Let's give you one example. Before the vice president came on, here's Joy Behar talking about the World Cup. And then Joy, I believe, is 83 years old and then decides to touch her breasts and then says, I'll show you a World Cup right here, which if you don't want to see this and you probably want to get this visual out of your mind, but I'm playing it anyway because we're all about shock value here. And cut number 11, go.
Then there was the World Cup, which also
still going on.
I'll show you the World Cup.
No, don't show us. Don't do it. Thank God this is broadcast television. All right, Kev, we're good. We're so good on that one. Okay. So anyway, that was the setup before the vice president of the United States came out. And, you know, Vance is funny because the guy, he did this with Tim Walz during the vice presidential debate. And he did it again here. He walks out first and says, hey, this show is full MAGA, right? This is like a very Republican kind of show where a guy like me is going to be very comfortable. And they didn't know what to do with that. And then they commented on how tall he was, and they didn't expect that. And he's all smiles and thank you. They wanted a food fight, and JD Vance would not give it to them. And as I predicted, he looked like the adult in the room, the statesman, and they came across as a bunch of jackals. There's no other way to put it. Here in cut number 14, speaking of jackals, they again accused the Trump administration. This is Sonny Hostin saying that literally the Trump administration is trying to erase black history, and JD just was not having it in a very charming way. Cut number 14, go.
Your question, but let me answer your actual question there.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying, I think, okay, look at Washington, D.C. One of the most democratic and one of the blackest, by a share of population, blackest cities in the United States of America, has seen a radical decrease in violent crimes and sexual assaults and in murders. We have tried to take the crime issue seriously, in part because we believe everybody, whether you're black or white or rich or poor, deserves to live in a safe neighborhood.
Why does the crime? Where does the crime step in? This is not about crime. This is about
lost their jobs.
Right. This is about
Sonny,
human rights.
What you're saying is we got to do more on the economy.
Black history has been erased from public spaces.
Black history is not erased from public spaces.
Guys, we do have to get to Iran when we get back. There's some very important news to
I'm telling you, we celebrate black history. We celebrate all American history in this administration. You guys might be skeptical of this, but I promise you it's true.
I mean, listen to that. How rude is that? Honestly, that's the vice president who came to your show. And they're all, it's Whoopi, then it's Sonny, then Anna Navarro. All yelling at the guy and they can't back up anything. How is the Trump administration erasing black history? JD asked. And no one had an answer for that. They just throw this crap out there. And by the way, the reason why the vice president brought up crime being significantly down in DC, one of the blackest cities in the country, is because it's now safer for everyone. especially blacks, in a city where the murder rate was through the roof, carjackings. You didn't want to go out at night in the nation's capital. And Trump put in the National Guard and cleaned up that city. At, by the way, the objection of everybody on The View and every Democrat out there who looks right now. So that's what Vance was saying, that everybody deserves to want to live to be in a safe neighborhood. And by the way, it doesn't matter what color you are. See, that's how Sonny Hostin, Whoopi Goldberg, that's the prism they see everything through. And the fact that Whoopi can't understand why crime is relevant to a conversation in terms of the Trump administration doing very good things for the black community, for the Indian community, Asian community, white community, Latino community. You make everywhere safe, then everybody benefits. And it doesn't have to be about color, but about human beings. So great job by the vice president there. Then, this is interesting. Joy Behar tries to, again, the way Trump is misquoted, and then it just goes through the media like wildfire. If you're using a blowtorch on dry grass, Trump never said that he thinks the affordability crisis is a hoax. This is what Joy Behar tries to pin down Vance with. And again, the guy is unflappable. And cut number 13, go.
Okay. So President Trump has called affordability a hoax. He said that, not me. He's pouring money into this ballroom of his and the reflecting pool. Oh, don't forget the Arch de Trumpet, I call it. And a White House cage match. All these things.
Whoa.
Why is he doing them when you just, everybody knows that Americans are struggling? What is he spending all this money for?
Well, I got to defend the president on the hoax point. What the president said is the idea that Republicans caused the affordability problem is a hoax. And I think that's true. If you go back to the Biden administration, inflation got up to 9% under the Biden administration. Okay. Right now it's at 3.5%. By the way, too high. We're doing everything that we can to bring it back down to 2.5%, which is where most people would like to see it. But we inherited an affordability problem. We're doing a lot to make it better. It's going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot more work to do. But the president knows that a lot of Americans are struggling. In fact, he ran on that. He talked about it. And we've done some things and made some good progress on that point.
He just said he loves the inflation.
What he said, Anna, what he said is that he loves the fact that the inflation is going to come down when this war is over. That's what he said.
Yes, that's not what he said. Why would Trump say he loves inflation? He's going to love the fact that it's going to come down now that the war is over, and it is over. And you're going to see, again, these people defended Biden when inflation was above 9%. Now it's at 3.5%, and they're talking about affordability. It's so phony. And by the way, when they say, why is Trump spending all this money on, say, the UFC fight at the White House? Dana White spent that money. Dana White, we played the clip yesterday saying, we're never going to do this again because he can't afford to lose that much money again. But it was worth it, is what he said. And then the reflecting pool, you have a problem? Trust me, I worked in Washington. I went to school near Washington. The reflecting pool near the Lincoln Memorial was horrible. It was an ugly green swamp, algae out the wazoo. Maybe for the World Cup, we want a nice blue reflecting pool and all the fountains around the city as well. And that's a bad thing? These people, I mean, and again, Vance handled that as perfectly as you could. Now, this was the best, I think, exchange of this particular show. And Whoopi tries to say that the Trump administration, again, just like Sunday before, is taking down black history, right? Then when Vance just asked her, can you cite one example? Well, apparently the producers didn't write down on her little note card one example for her. And the stammering that happens here, this is the clip that's going viral right now because, again, Vance, game, set, match. In cut number 15, go.
Or them doing all kinds of removal of information of black heroes. How does that sit with you?
Well, what exactly are you talking about, Whoopi? Because you just
I know Emmett Till was the kid.
No, I want to know what she's.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Your actual point.
So in a lot of the museums, there's so many. Where they're taking down the actual history that happened in this country, slavery.
Okay, where is this happening? See, Vance was smart because he wasn't going to get in the mud with these jackals. But again, she could, museums, what museum? Whoopi, Can you name one where Black history is being taken down? And again, it's a tag team. It's Whoopi, then there's Sonny, and they're on each side of them. Show me one Democrat they have ever spoken to in that way. They ask softball questions, hell, T-ball questions, if you put a beach ball on the tee. Those are the kind of questions that are asked of any Democrat that comes on there, and then they shut up and they listen. And then the crowd applauds like the seals that they are. Again, I have never met one person in my entire life that said, oh, I went to go see The View today. Not one. And not because, oh, well, Joe, you're on Fox. You're not around liberals. I'm in New Jersey. Trust me, I'm around plenty. I've yet to meet one person. I'm convinced it's just the same people they recycle and put in there every day. I'm half joking on that. Before we go to break, this is how you go to break, by the way. This is Ana Navarro, who is somehow employed by two major networks, CNN and ABC. She knows, trust me, when you work in TV, all right, either a clock starts flashing or there's a floor producer putting up his arms together like an X, which means break. You know when you're going to break, but no, she needs more airtime. And even Whoopi Goldberg is like, can you shut up, please? We got to go to commercial. This is great. 17, go.
You guys might be skeptical of this, but I promise you it's true.
I have to go to break. Anna, God, please, we have more with Vice President JD Vance when we come back. Don't do that.
You hear that? Anna, please. She goes to break. She goes, don't do that. Good. All right, Whoopi, you get a slow golf clap for that because it's so true. And the way Ana Navarro is asking those questions, all about herself, Republican strategist, my ass, by the way. That's what she was. Oh, and now we'll play this clip for you later. She wants to go to the opening of the Obama Library because that truly is Americana. You know, spending $900 million for a friggin' library is the ugliest structure I have ever seen. We'll talk more about that when we come back here on WABC and on stations around the country in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. So, I probably should have led with this, but it's something that I just, at some point, somebody's going to be successful. I'm sorry, with these assassination attempts of the president and others in his cabinet. Obviously, as we know, over the weekend, we had the UFC Freedom 250 event on the South Lawn of the White House, and 5 people are now in custody. And investigators identified 23 people, this is according to FoxNews.com, as part of a potential network of plotters. The alleged plan involved using explosive-laden drones to hit buildings near the event, forcing a mass evacuation and steer crowds towards a pre-staged sniper team. A second wave was then allegedly planned to storm the White House gate. The FBI learned of this threat on June 10th, so that's only 6 days ago, and worked with partners to secure probable cause for an arrest in Cincinnati where one suspect was taken into custody. Court documents identified the suspect as 19-year-old Tyson Proper. All right, I'm looking at him. It's a really ugly white guy. No way he's 19. The guy looks like 58. But I guess he started talking. According to a criminal complaint, Proper allegedly spent $3,000 of his graduation money to purchase lots of ammunition, guns, extra magazines, and other items for the alleged attack. All right, so let me now go to, let's say, the New York Times homepage, just for S and giggles, and let's see what we got here as the lead. The lead is the war in Iran has permanently altered the global economy. That is the lead on the New York Times website. Let's see. The second one is after U.S. strike on Iranian school, months pass without answers. Third story is Trump says he hopes to put war in rearview mirror. Fourth story is war hangs over American farmers as fertilizer prices rise. Fifth story is how much are EV drivers saving with gas prices still high. Sixth story is Europe stayed out of the U.S.-Iran war. Now it says it's ready to act. And then the seventh story is the untold story of Jeffrey Epstein's death. I am not seeing anything on this attack that could have been successful on the President of the United States. Sniper teams, drones crashing into buildings. This is not your lead story. It's a lead on FoxNews.com, not with the New York Times. And I have a feeling this will be memory hold, just like the first assassination attempt, the second assassination attempt, the third assassination attempt, and then somebody shot at the White House just a couple of weeks ago. So we could call that a fourth. And this is just how it works. We're accepting this as a new normal, a permission slip to violence. And if the media is not going to cover this with the scrutiny it deserves, then, well, we got real problems. More on this in cut number 10 from Fox News. Go.
Explosive packed drones hitting buildings near the event, forcing a mass evacuation and steering crowds towards a pre-staged sniper team. A second wave was then planned to storm the White House gate. The FBI first learned of the threat last Wednesday and worked with law enforcement across multiple states.
Well, good for Kash Patel. If I got to hear one more time, this guy isn't doing a good job. I mean, seriously, between him and Pete Hegseth, who are the most scrutinized members of the cabinet, doing one hell of a job on both counts to foil something like this. The problem is when you prevent an attack like this, you don't get the credit you deserve. It's almost like being an offensive lineman in football. You could block a perfect game. Make sure your quarterback doesn't get sacked. Make sure your running back runs for 125 yards. One holding call at the wrong time, and you're the worst player on the team. That's just how it works. You got to be perfect in these situations. All right, before we go to break, speaking of the UFC fights at the White House, Jimmy Kimmel, who Colbert's gone, so we have one insufferable person left at 11:30 at night. Here he is comparing the UFC fights at the White House to a mini January 6th, because this person is an a-hole. Cut number 9, go.
Front lawn of the White House, UFC Freedom 250 had all the refinement and prestige as a Hooters at the Vatican. They used every room of the White House for this event. They had fighters warming up in the diplomatic reception room. They had a guy in the cabinet room. They had fighters in the Roosevelt room. They had a guy in the Oval Office alongside Trump's wacko wall of fame that he put up. And finally, they had an event right out there on the Truman balcony where, listen to this very closely here, because you're going to hear a sound that had not been uttered before. What a night, like a mini January 6th. And I do want to say this. No one should be wearing shorts at the White House.
Okay. Again, the Auto Penn administration had LGBTQ++ exclamation point people, trans people, flashing their boobs on the South Lawn of the White House. I'll take this any day of the week. What an elitist Kimmel is. Oh, suddenly it's uncouth to have UFC fights at the White House. I think it's awesome. And that's the best he can do. A mini January 6th. What a... Oh, the Pope of late night. What more can you say? Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. We're back with so much more. Trust me, in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
So, even though I'm not a Knicks fan, I'm not going to pretend to be, just because, my audience, a lot of them are in New York, and I really should jump on the bandwagon and sound like I'm excited. Like, I'm excited for a class act like Jalen Brunson, right? And all the Villanova guys, Mikal Robinson, obviously Josh Hart. I think that's an awesome story. The three guys that played together in college and won a national championship there, then were on the same NBA team and won a national championship for a franchise that let's put it this way. The Rangers took 54 years to win their Stanley Cup between 1940 and 1994. And as a Devils fan, I lost my whole 1940 chant, which really, that was a good one. It was nice to have. And now 53 years, almost the same amount of time until the Knicks win a championship. Many people that are going to be going to the parade on Thursday weren't even born when the Knicks last won. So it's a great story. You know, I like the Knicks in terms of their franchise. I think Dolan, made some mistakes hiring like the Isaiah Thomases of the world to run the team, or Phil Jackson for that matter, when, he had checked out a while ago after he got his 10 championships with Kobe and Shaq and Michael and Scotty. But the point is that I like the team, but the fans, especially the celebrities, are really, really hard to like. Like Spike Lee. I mean, what gives you the right to get up in the referee's face, constantly jumping around? Like yelling, sit down. No one can see anything. And I'll always remember what happened with Reggie Miller, where Miller literally not going to the Knicks bench and saying, you're choking, but when Miller just lit up the Knicks, and I believe it was 1995, and he was doing the choke sign to Spike Lee, who was talking so much trash And he motivated Reggie so much that they lost that series. And I love the fact that he'll always be blamed for that. But now I guess he has a get out of jail free card with the Knicks winning here. Anyway, Spike Lee now is a policymaker as well. And he says that at the parade on Thursday, Canyon of Heroes, ICE better stay away. You better let illegals roam the streets and do whatever they want, or else. Spike Lee in cut 2, go.
When we win, whether it's home or away, there's going to be such a... It's going to be bananas. It's going to be craziness. It's going to be love. And NYPD can't control that. The Marines, National Guard, just don't bring in the mother ICE. No ICE. I've said this more than once. ICE is not welcome.
Who are you? ICE is not welcome. Oh, that's right. You're a millionaire with security. A guy who doesn't have to deal with illegal gang members and sex traffickers and child molesters, murderers who came into this country illegally. So good for you, Spike. So obviously he said that before Game 5, before the Knicks clinched in San Antonio. Again, down 14 Game 1, down 14 Game 2, down 29 Game 3, down 16 Game 5. Won all of those games. Best closing team I've seen since the 1990s. Bulls, it's worth saying. But again, between Spike Lee and I got to see one more interview with Ben Stiller. I got to say, Seinfeld's the only one I like of everybody on Celebrity Row. Otherwise, please, I don't want to hear from you anymore. How long suffering you are when you're worth like 8 figures. I'm sorry, that's not true suffering. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, Robert De Niro is again. It's such a shame. Godfather 2's on last night. Of course, I stay and I always watch it. I get through about 20 minutes. I get my fill, and that's fine. And De Niro's great as a young Vito Corleone, and then he's obviously great, and not just the Goodfellas of the world. Obviously, he was tremendous in that, and great in Casino, but even comedies like Meet the Parents, like Midnight Run. Right, so I'm not going to take away anything from De Niro as an actor, but the person is just so. The guy needs help. He needs seriously, like Dr. Melfi, kind of like shrink, because every speech he does, it's all about how Trump is horrible. America is in jeopardy as far as being a democratic republic. All this crap. Again, Democrats literally installed Kamala Harris as the Democratic nominee in 2024. Not one vote from the public. Just said, here you go. She's yours. So this way she didn't have to earn it. She'll have to earn it this time around. And she may very well get it based on the polls I see. Oh, man. She's up. I'll read you 4 polls. Harris plus 22, Harris plus 20, Harris plus 17, Harris plus 19 over Gavin Newsom. Those are like 3 touchdown leads, basically. And again, if you're Gavin Newsom, you're like, I'm down what? To the worst candidate of our lifetimes? That's when you know things are going badly. And we'll talk about De Niro and Gavin Newsom in a little bit. But here's De Niro once again. It's the same speech over and over again. He might as well just cut and paste. And cut number 3, go.
The phrase, we all love our country, stuck in my throat. Because our country isn't so lovable right now. I hate to say it, but loving our country is starting to sound like an abused spouse saying they love their abuser.
What?
I can't love a country that's led by a racist, misogynist, xenophobic tyrant.
Yep. There we go. Great. Same crap over and over again. Meanwhile, many Democrats are not proud to be Americans as we go into our 250th birthday. 12% of voters who chose Kamala Harris in the 2024 election feel proud to be American. Basically 1 out of 10. You could juxtapose that with Trump voters, where the number is as high as 97% of Trump voters feel proud to be Americans. Being proud of your country shouldn't be based on who is occupying the Oval Office, especially if that person was elected freely and fairly, like Trump was. So when Trump leaves, what's De Niro going to talk about? I guess he'll pivot to Marco Rubio or JD Vance as far as them being worse than Trump somehow. And people applaud this stuff. Like, doesn't De Niro just get bored of hearing himself talk about this stuff over and over again? And do something about it, besides endorsing somebody and then doing these angry speeches. Of course, that won't ever happen, of course. Anyway, Scott Jennings has a very good take on this whole Democrats shouldn't hate America. But let's get to that in a little bit, because here's two Democrats that reveal they're not actually rooting for the U.S. to succeed. And that's the thing. I mean, some people just want to watch the world burn. There are many people out there just to get Trump, to hit Republicans, conservatives, MAGA, whatever you want to call it, would love to see the country fail and people suffer just so they could get back power. And they don't care what it takes to do that, as we are seeing clearly with the whole Graham Plattner endorsement. But this is cut number 5. Go.
World Cup is here. The first match this weekend at MetLife Stadium taking place in New Jersey, even though some people say it is technically New York. But what do you think will win it all? Who are you rooting for?
Oh, I like Mexico.
Mexico, there you go.
I'm rooting for Senegal.
Senegal, okay.
Those are two Democratic lawmakers saying that. So one says, I'm not rooting for the United States, even though I'm in the U.S. Congress, I'm rooting for Mexico. Oh, and I'm not rooting for the United States as far as winning the World Cup or winning a match, but I'm going to root for Senegal. They go back there. It's very simple. Ilhan Omar, there's a racist country. Go back to Somalia. It's very simple. All these people, why did you come here if your other countries were so great? And now you're going to root against the U.S.? The U.S. plays these teams. You're going to root against the U.S.? Really? Okay. And you're in the Congress. That is insane. Meanwhile, Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick, I want to like you. I do. And again, I've been praising Jalen Brunson throughout this entire series and playoffs for that matter. But can we please stop with the whole Brunson is one of the greatest athletes in sports history? All right. He's Mark Messier right now. Messier came to New York and won a cup for the Rangers and got that whole monkey off the back kind of thing. And that's great. And Messier won plenty, by the way, with the Oilers before that in the 80s as well. So he has several to his credit. Jalen Brunson has won 1 championship. All right. If he wins several, then you could start to maybe have this conversation. If he wins 5 like Kobe, if he wins 6 like Jordan 6 for 6. I want to include LeBron in this conversation because he's lost more finals than he's won. Just saying. GOAT, king, stop it. Anyway, I'm going to go off on a tangent, but here's Perkins saying Jalen Brunson, put him on the Mount Rushmore of sports figures, not just in basketball, in sports history. This is ESPN 6. Go.
You talk about Jalen Brunson and what he just accomplished. He cemented himself as the greatest Knick ever. Jalen Brunson just submitted himself as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Whoa.
Jalen Brunson just cemented himself as one of the greatest winners in sports.
Whoa. It's 1 championship. Can we say that about Sam Darnold, I guess, as well? Because he did win a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. I need more of a resume here, guys. Sorry. Right? And I'm sure Brunson will be great. There's no reason to think that he won't continue to play on this level and especially be the great fourth quarter player that he is. But I need to see a couple of consistent seasons in this regard. I think a lot of people probably thought that Don Mattingly would be one of the greatest Yankees of all time. He's my favorite of all time because I was a little kid when he was dominating, winning MVPs and so on. But then the back went out and then he never won a World Series. And now he's not even in the Hall of Fame when you thought in 84, 85, 86, 87, 88 that he's absolutely going. And then suddenly things can go sideways. So I just don't know how we could have that kind of hyperbole yet around Brunson, again, who is great, but you need to win a couple of these things before we start using that name. And by the way, I think Willis Reed and Walt, Frazier, Clyde, even Ewing probably want to have a word on the whole greatest Knick of all time. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, so I have a feeling I know where this happened. This is Jesse Waters on the 5, and Jesse goes to the Jersey Shore. I won't say where, but we go to the same place. I go to 2 places, actually. I go to Spring Lake and I go to another place. And this is the other place. And there's a place where in the morning, it's a very, very popular bagel place to the point where you usually have to stand on line. The line extends out the store and into the street. And you end up talking to people. Everybody's usually very friendly, except here. And Jesse, I guess, found his Karen somewhere down the shore where everything is usually all right. Cut number 7, go.
I was getting a bagel this weekend, and we were in line, and this woman with glasses and bad teeth and a ponytail hears my voice, and she turns around and she says, "You!" And I said, "Uh-oh." And she says, "You are the one that spews lies on TV." I mean, I'm like Limbaugh. I'm right 99.8% of the time. But my wife's there and she says, do you talk to everyone like that the way you talk to my husband? And she's like, go inside and get your bagel. And the woman starts shaking. You know how mentally ill they are. And she's like totally disconnected from reality.
They don't know how to talk to people.
Like miserable, angry, crazy. And you look at what's going on here. I mean, we've just defeated the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We're about to sign a peace deal to get all their uranium. We just had thousands of Americans chanting USA on the White House lawn at the greatest UFC fight I've ever seen. 7 TKOs in a row. While they have the Marine Band playing all the intro songs, while they have the U.S. Air Force flying overhead to celebrate America 250, the greatest country in the world. At the same weekend, you have all of these Europeans who the liberals love here visiting, talking about how the United States is the greatest country in the world. Have you seen these videos of the French, Germans, and the Dutch, astounded about our landscape, our food,
that's good, Kev.
our truck?
Yeah, we get, and it is, right? But that's the thing. Like, I think that social media has made us less social in the sense where people are in their phones all the time. So when they actually have to have an interaction with a human they may disagree with, they think they're on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and just start yelling at them, except it's real life now. You're not behind a keyboard anymore. And it's funny because sometimes people will hear my voice, and I'm not saying I'm on the level of Jesse Waters. He's got 2 shows on Fox that are top rated. I'm just the guy who appears across a bunch of shows a lot, but still, I guess enough where I will make myself a C-list celebrity, maybe B, whatever. But I guess I do have somewhat of a distinctive voice. And it's funny because when people, they know who I am, but they don't know who I am. You know, I'm the guy from that thing, but they can't put a name to the voice or the face. Some people are like, I watch you. I think you're great. You're on Fox. I'll go, yes. Hi, I'm Jesse Waters. Very nice to meet you. And half the time they believe it. Which, if you see Jesse's hair and my hair, he's got a little more, a little darker. But some people will actually believe that. I'm like, then I can't let it go. I'm like, I'm not Jesse Waters. So I'm actually Will Kane. Very nice to meet you. They're like, oh, yeah, Will Kane. I'm like, no, I'm not Will Kane either. I'm Joe Concha. All right, Concha. So anyway, the perils of celebrity, I suppose. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the C-list celebrity Joe Concha Show. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, let's do a little rapid fire here, shall we? And cut number 12. First, very interesting. I went back and found this clip. It's President Trump, then just real estate mogul, reality show star Trump, of course, on The Apprentice, NBC. 8 o'clock on Thursdays, I believe it was. But anyway, here he fires a guy because the guy was referring to himself as white trash, and Trump took real exception to this. I must have missed this episode, but this is awesome. Cut number 12, go.
This is customer. I'm white trash. I only eat at restaurants with deep fried appetizers, so I know I'm not the Lexus.
What do you mean you're white trash?
Well, I'm just joking about that.
But what does that mean? You don't joke about that. What does that mean you're white trash?
I grew up in a small town, and
does that make you white trash? Do you feel you're white trash?
Sometimes
that's
I do.
That's a pretty stinking statement. But don't you think that's a pretty bad statement about yourself?
No, not necessarily. I don't think people take that seriously.
It doesn't sound flattering. Do you go around calling yourself white trash?
As a
do you
joke
think I want to
sometimes.
hire somebody that's white trash?
No. And I say it as a joke sometimes. And
I don't like it as a joke. You know what, Derek? You're fired.
Yeah. Have a little pride in yourself. You call yourself white trash. And Trump says, I don't want somebody working for me who thinks they're white trash. And, well, got rid of him. That was that. I'll have to go back and rewatch that show in the context of then Trump later becomes the actual president of the United States. That would be very cool. I always found season 1 was easily the best, and season 2. Once they went to the celebrity stuff, it got a little not quite my thing, but yeah, seasons 1 and 2. All right, now I know what I'm doing tonight. Anyway, Kamala Harris, as I mentioned before, is easily the front runner for the Democratic nomination. I know it's only June of 2026, but when you're up 20, 19 points on Gavin Newsom, I don't know. I think Gavin's going in the wrong direction because, again, only 2 homes have been rebuilt in the Palisades and in Malibu. We're 18 months since those wildfires. 13 overall homes rebuilt in LA County. We're talking thousands of homes that were destroyed. That is going to come back to bite him, if not his phoniness, which no one likes. I mean, Trump is authentic. You could like him or hate him. The guy is authentic. Gavin Newsom, absolutely not. He's a shapeshifter. And he's been doing these podcasts recently with Hunter Biden defending Graham Plattner and Ashley St. Clair, one of Elon Musk's baby mamas. I didn't realize this. He has 14 kids, Elon does, with 4 different women. This is like Sean Kemp-like. I'm impressed almost on some level. The super sperm clearly working. But anyway, the point is, here's Kamala Harris saying that Trump is going after Gavin Newsom. Now, again, let's unpack this real quick. Gavin Newsom and his wife are under investigation because she runs a nonprofit. But through that nonprofit, she's been able to steer certain contracts to that nonprofit. And suddenly nonprofit isn't nonprofit anymore because millions have gone into this as a result of her standing as First Lady of California. And here's the thing, though. This investigation was launched by the Biden Justice Department, not Trump. But here's Kamala lying through her teeth. And of course, the person interviewing her doesn't correct her in cut number 16, saying this is actually Trump who's going after Newsom when it started with Biden. Cut number 16, go.
I am not surprised that he may be using the Department of Justice to go after a political enemy in the current governor of California. And this is why I do believe this, upon many other examples of what is essentially, you're going to ask me questions about the current president, I'm going to be candid, what is essentially the most callous, corrupt, and incompetent presidential administration America's ever experienced.
Oh, not the one who lied about a president's brain turning to mashed potatoes and then trying to cover it up? That one wasn't the guy you worked for, and his Justice Department literally tried to throw in the guy who beat you in 2024 into jail. Took him off state ballots. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know a much more corrupt administration, and you were vice president, Kamala. But again, if you're Republicans, you are embracing the fact that she could be the nominee because she's going to have to be in front of the American people, not for 107 days like she was in 2024, about 2 years. Because January, February, that's when people are going to start announcing that they're running for president so they could raise as much money as possible. 2 years of exposure to Kamala Harris outside of a teleprompter where she is a human Chernobyl will not go well for her. And if the backup plan's Gavin Newsom, whoops, highest homeless rate in the country, highest poverty rate in the country, highest unemployment rate in the country, highest gas prices in the country, and can't rebuild more than 2 homes in the Palisades in Malibu. Incompetent, inauthentic, and a horrible record. Okay, then if AOC is plan C, oh boy, she may lose 51 states. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This has been the Joe Concha Show. We're back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC and on stations around the country and around the world. Until then, I got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.